for the Ride or Dynasty podcast. Let's go!
Welcome to the Ride or Dynasty podcast. I am your hostess with the mostest, JJ Wenner, and I am happy to be here and healthy and talking about football. I hope that all of our riders out there are healthy and happy as well. With me tonight is my brother from another mother who is getting worked to the bone by the man, Michael Kloss. How are you doing, my friend?
JJ, what's going on, man? It's definitely, interesting, this quarantine, when you work for a marketing organization that, never stops. So it's good to be employed. I'm happy for that and happy to be talking football with you all.
Absolutely, my friend. Also with us tonight, soon to be going back to work, but that probably means remotely, Eric, the Braun Mower. Braun, how are you doing, my friend?
I'm all right. I'm happy to be here. I'm excited. It's the best time of the year. Rookie drafts are starting up, kicking off. Just excited.
Absolutely. Hope springs eternal, at least in football. And an extra special guest tonight, one of my good friends who I talk about fantasy football with every week with our fantasy football leaders of America at my middle school, my friend and colleague, Don Detweiler. How are you doing, my friend?
Oh, great. It's great to be here. Thanks for having me, guys.
Absolutely. Happy to have you with us. So tonight we are going to be doing a post-draft 3-round mock draft, 1 QB, PPR, nothing too exotic. But to start off, we just want to go over some of the crazy things that happened in, I guess the NFL had a fantasy draft because they ran it like most of us run our fantasy drafts. Except, I'm going to be honest with you guys. If I had my kids running around me while I'm trying to do a rookie draft, I'm kicking my kids out of the room. I don't know how those guys were able to handle their families and football at the same time.
Or their dogs,
as the only other,
like Bill
or their dogs.
Bill Belichick, or their kids on the toilet, like Mike Vrabel.
I was going to say, whatever's going on over there.
I mean, you're a dad, Mike. Would you even possibly have your kids around?
Let me tell you a story. I was in a meeting just on Google Hangouts today, and my daughter, who's wonderful, during this meeting came up to me and was just like, Dad, like the Family Guy, right? And I just kind of looked over. I was like, hold on 1 second. Looked over and I was like, what? She's like, I'm going to go wear my red shoes at playtime today. Okay, bye. And just ran off. So the answer to that is unequivocally no. I would not have my kids around at all. It's terrible.
That is, and it's funny that she said that because I wore my red shoes at playtime today.
It's big news.
Breaking news. All right, so looking at the NFL draft, Don, why don't you start us off with who you think had the best draft?
I think top to bottom, I think the Baltimore Ravens had a tremendous draft. Their class starting off, really, I think the biggest thing they did was they let the board come to them. But you look at the areas in need. They came into this needing linebackers badly. Patrick Queen just winds up falling to them directly. A team that runs the ball more than anybody else has what could be the best running back in the league just drop into their laps in Dobbins in the second round. And then you look later on, you start to see the depth. They just reinforce positions in need, trenches all the way up and down. They just did a stellar job of letting things come to them, moving around the draft board when they had to.
Yeah, you and I were talking pre-draft that they're one of those teams that knows who they are and they have an identity. And they stick to it every year. And you just look and, like you said, up and down the draft and just walk away impressed with what they were able to do. Eric.
Yeah. So I hate to say this, and it's a little bit of a controversial pick, but I kind of think the Eagles had a really good draft. Nick, our
Ooh.
friend of the podcast, was absolutely furious when they didn't trade up to get CeeDee Lamb or Jerry Jeudy. But I don't think the Jalen Reagor pick is bad at all at 21. I think he's a really good fit with that offense, has a lot of potential, and I kind of love Jalen Hurts. I don't know how that's going to work with Carson Wentz. The fit is a little odd. I'm not a huge Wentz fan, but I do think Hurts is a good quarterback prospect, and you just can't have too many quarterbacks. So credit to them for taking a really high value position, and the rest of the draft was pretty solid.
Yeah, I can't even argue with you. Except for that one pick, I thought they did a phenomenal job, especially getting some depth. They actually got one of our favorite running backs late as an undrafted free agent, somebody, a veteran of the Devi debrief, Michael Warren, who I'm very happy that they got. I think that's a solid undrafted free agent, which just, shows how well they did overall in their draft.
Yeah.
Michael, what are you thinking?
This is a tough one. I mean, I really like the Broncos draft. I think they gave Drew Lock, a good amount of weapons, and I'm excited to see Sutton and Judy on that offense along with Alberto. But probably I guess my vote for best draft would be the Minnesota Vikings. They replaced Stephon Diggs with Justin Jefferson. Jeff Gladney is going to be, I think, a very good player on defense, and they just had a ton of picks, and I thought that they absolutely used them all the right way. So lots of picks, lots of opportunity, but I'm going to go Minnesota there.
Yeah, you can't argue with any of these teams. Personally, I loved the Cowboys draft. I mean, they didn't really need a receiver, but they took, I think, the best receiver in the draft, CeeDee Lamb. They came back with Trevon Diggs, following it up with like an awesome defensive tackle. And then in the fourth round, they still got two quality players with Reggie Robinson, who I happen to have in a Devi IDP deep league, which is sick. It means I have a sickness that I have Reggie Robinson the second on a roster. But sorry about that. And they also got a great center out of Wisconsin. I'm not even going to try to butcher that last name, but I really, really liked Dallas's draft this year. And I think that offense is ready to explode. Now, the lingering questions that came from the draft, on a scale of 1 to I can't stand you, how do the Packers feel about Aaron Rodgers?
That was rough.
Yeah.
It's hard to believe it, but I can't imagine they want to move on that quickly. I guess they just love Jordan Love, but I don't think that really makes it better. I think that was an absolutely terrible pick. I mean, one of the best things about drafting a first-round quarterback is that they're super cheap. Rookie contract's just super valuable, and I know I just defended the Jalen Hurts pick, but I think trading up to get a backup for a Hall of Fame quarterback when you could get him a weapon on the outside that he hasn't had in 4 years.
Yeah, I agree
that's
with
pretty
you.
rough.
At least one.
I mean, you gotta think about filling holes where you have team needs. I'm totally cool with looking to the future and building an organization and LaFleur getting players that he wants. But man, they're telling fans that they're going to be on a trajectory to make players angry and possibly not compete. This is a team that was just in almost in the Super Bowl, right? I mean, Raheem Mostert ran all over him, but still, you're not gonna try to seize that window. I think that was just plain stupid.
It's hard to understand, especially when you've got an offense that should be throwing the ball all around with Rodgers, and you did absolutely nothing to help him. You've got Adams at wide receiver and a whole bunch of people you kind of found. So what should you do? Maybe, I don't know, in the deepest wide receiver draft in history, maybe get yourself a wide receiver. Nah, we're not going to do that. We're going to pass that and take what some people had, the 5th or even 6th rated quarterback. I don't see it.
And then
to come back with a workers ground and pound running back.
the one other position they're strong at is running back.
Yeah, but again, LaFleur has done this. He's a Shanahan disciple. He wants multiple backs, which does not spell well for Aaron Jones in the future because he wants to use multiple backs. So that's who taught him. That's what he's taking the organization. So if he doesn't last long there, the Packers might be messed up for several years.
Yeah. And of course, I mean, Green Bay was its own thing, but the most pressing question that I think presented itself during this draft is what the hell was going on in Mike Vrabel's house? There was a guy in a bodysuit. There was a guy with a mullet. I believe I saw like a juggling dwarf. What was going on in this house?
Yeah, that was weird. And everybody kind of keyed on the potential toilet in the background and just kind of moved past everything going on right around Mike Vrabel. I don't know what any of it was.
That mullet was full Joe Dirt.
That was a full Joe Dirt mullet, absolutely. But do we think he got spoken to by the NFL, and that's why it stopped, Michael?
I absolutely have no idea. But like you've got a head coach in the NFL, and you're looking to try to get TV time for what? Like those kids are probably just rolling in cash, and they decide to make their weird debut on the NFL draft. It just doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, I'm with you. Strange
Very strange
happenings. All right, so enough of this beating around the bush. Let's get to the point, and let's get to our 3-round rookie mock draft. So we rolled dice beforehand. I am going to go first, followed by Michael, followed by Eric, and lastly by Don. Again, this is a 1 QB PPR draft. And I'm not going to lie. I am very much torn over who to take. I know who I want, and I know who everybody wants me to take, and it's not the same person. I am sticking true to my board, and I'm going with the new Indianapolis Colt, Jonathan Taylor at 1. I think he has all the capability of being a top bell cow running back, and I think he's in a system that's going to feed him the ball. So I don't think there's any doubt in my mind that Jonathan Taylor is number 1.
Not to mention that Marlon Mack's contract is up at the end of 2020, so he's going to be gone. That's pretty obvious.
All right, on to number 2.
And that is me. I think at this stage, let's be honest, right? Pre-draft rankings are fun. But if you have any talent and you are considered a first-round player in fantasy drafts, and you go to the Chiefs, you're going to go high in fantasy drafts. I've always loved Damian Williams, but Clyde Edwards-Helaire is a guy that is going to catch a lot of balls. Andy Reid loves those type of backs. You saw what happened with Brian Westbrook. And this guy's going to slot right in and eventually be the guy there. So to everyone taking Clyde 1, I don't feel bad about you taking Taylor, but Clyde's going number 2. Easy pick.
Yeah, I agree with that. That's a great pick. I mean, they are both very close. I lean CEH, but you can't go wrong either way there.
That puts you in a fun position then, Eric.
I think this is a bit of a teardrop, minor teardrop. Still great options here, and I am a little torn here, but I'm going to go with the wide receiver. I'm going to take Jerry Jeudy. I think he's a really, really strong wide receiver prospect. The route running is elite. I don't hate the situation or love the situation in Denver. It's okay. I'm kind of lukewarm on Locke, and there are some other options there with Sutton and Fant, but I just think Judy's a really good prospect. Slightly edges out some of the running backs that slipped, if you want to call it that, to round 2.
All right. Don, number 4.
Yeah, it's a position here where you're torn. because you're looking at Dobbins, you go into a run-heavy offense, and you think, yeah, that's great. I'm going with Swift, though. I think Swift is going to get a better percentage of the running game. I think he'll catch more passes out of the backfield. And realistically, I think he has a real chance to unseat the incumbent there and kind of take possession of that running game in Detroit, which under Patrician had better get themselves in order.
Yeah, or it's going to be Patricia's last year there, which I think it might be anyway. I am ecstatic at this point because coming back to me is one of my top picks. Having gone to Baltimore, J.K. Dobbins has experience running out of the shotgun from Ohio State. He's going into an offense that runs out of the shotgun a lot. So J.K. Dobbins, he might be second on the team in yards behind Lamar Jackson, but he's first in my heart. So J.K. Dobbins from Baltimore at 5.
How soon does he take over, JJ?
From Ingram?
Yes.
I would say pretty early. I say he receives a heavy share by week 4. And then it just starts every week increasing as he shows what he can do.
All right, so I am coming up at 6, and I think at this point I'm grabbing at talent, and I'm hoping that CeeDee Lamb at the 106 is super productive as an outside receiver in Dallas. I think this just opens up the door for Dak with so many weapons, right? I mean, I almost feel bad for Blake Jarwin coming into this Dallas team as now like the forgotten weapon, because with Gallup, Cooper, still Zeke, and Lamb, this is going to be a fun passing attack to watch for a long time. Hopefully, I mean, you got 3 young receivers. We'll see what happens with Amari's contract, but Lamb is the pick here.
Great pick. So just to recap our first 6, we had Jonathan Taylor, followed by CEH. Jerry Jeudy went number 3, followed by Swift and Dobbins, finalizing CeeDee Lamb for Dallas. Eric, give us number 7.
Alrighty, so I wasn't a big fan of him pre-draft, but I'm going to go with Cam Akers. He's another running back who I really loved the landing spot of. I think he has a lot of potential in that Rams offense. So we saw what Todd Gurley could do, and I know, yeah, he's not Todd Gurley, whatever. But that offense was also crazy, and Todd Gurley was not the only reason for that. So there's McVay's going to run the ball. He's going to create opportunities. He's going to create scoring opportunities for Akers, and there's opportunity in the passing game as well. I'm not really scared by the other options in that backfield, so I'm going to take Akers.
All right, so we have Cam Akers going. Don, who do you have at number 8?
Coming in at 8, I got Zach Moss. Zach Moss, to me, is the last of the difference maker kind of backs in this area. Going to a Buffalo situation where I think they play as much their opponents as anybody else. I think they're going to be running the ball, trying to control things. Even though they brought in a Stefan Diggs kind of player, I think you can really control the clock and get a struggling quarterback an opportunity here to do a little more with passing out of the backfield. I think Moss gets you a better value here at a premium position.
Do you worry about Devin Singletary at all?
You know, I think Singletary is going to wind up okay here. He's probably going to get the majority of the carries going on, but as with backs, it's first one hit and you could be done. So what I like here is I think they're going to look towards more of a timeshare situation.
Yeah, I agree. I think they'll kind of battle it out, but they both could do well there. Assuming Josh Allen can keep that offense afloat, they have some good potential.
Nice thing is Moss has a potential to be a touchdown vulture here too. A big back, runs hard, straight line kind of guy. So I think he can really fit there and make up the lack of touches with value touches.
Yeah.
So yeah, can't disagree there. After going running back with Taylor and Dobbins, I'm going to take my first little toe dip into the wide receiver pool. I'm torn between Justin Jefferson and Jalen Reagor, but I'm going to go based upon landing spot, Jalen Reagor. He's walking into a place where Greg Ward is the top wide receiver. Carson Wentz has a big arm. He's a great quarterback. Look what he did last year with nobody. I have to go with Reagor as the only weapon on that offense.
So then, I mean, you just made it, I think, easy for me. Again, we're still in a one quarterback. So the easy pick here to me is Justin Jefferson, right? You go to a Minnesota team where you're going to be, I hesitate to say Stephon Diggs replacement, but just for, lack of terminology, let's just assume that. And then your opposite Adam Thielen, who, let's be honest, has struggled with just random injuries, especially last year. There's an opportunity for him to be featured, not just like put in a starting role, but actually featured on that team. Dalvin Cook's the guy, but can you imagine what he might be able to do just even with Thielen drawing, the top corner on that team? Justin Jefferson is, I think, a great late first round pick here.
Awesome. Eric at 11.
Alrighty. Well, I think you guys are forgetting about my boy, Henry Ruggs III here. Honestly, he's another guy I wasn't huge on pre-draft, but he went 13th overall. That's awesome draft capital. And I think this situation is a little better than some people give it credit for. The quarterback situation's not great with Derek Carr, but I think John Gruden wants to have a wide receiver one. Before he became the Raiders head coach this time, in his previous head coaching stints, his wide receiver one always had over a 28% market share, which if you look at what the Raiders have done the last 2 seasons with Gruden, that comes out to about 1,100 yard season. I don't know that Ruggs is going to do that right out of the gates, but there's not that many other options out of the gates, and I think that's what Gruden is shooting for.
I don't even know that you can go into, just if you're drafting Henry Ruggs on a team, if you can go in assuming Derek Carr is going to be there long term. I don't know that Vegas is going to have a stomach for that.
Yeah.
Mediocre quarterback play is what I mean by that.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I don't think it'll be enough of a disaster to really tank Ruggs' stock, and I think Gruden will be active about finding a replacement if he needs to.
He's like the darling of play action here. We got a super strong running back, great situation there. Now it's a real game-changing threat here. He's probably going to be one of those wide receivers that you're either loving or you're cursing on a weekly basis because it's going to be boom or bust. But he's got deep ball written all over him in that system.
Yeah, there's a lot of potential off the play action there, that's for sure.
All right, so to finish this off with the 12th pick of the first round, Don, who do you have?
I got Pittman here. The Colts took themselves a very athletic, tall wide receiver that really is something that they don't have in the rest of their offense. You've got a great wide receiver with T.Y. Hilton that can do all the underneath and do all the other work, but now you have kind of a jump ball, red zone target, and a guy who can just flat get open for them. And very little competition because he probably steps into your wide receiver too there.
Yeah, I agree. So now we have Akers, Moss, Reagor, followed by Justin Jefferson, Henry Ruggs, and Michael Pittman. So pretty much wide receiver heavy in the back half of the first. Eric, what do you think is the biggest surprise of the first round?
Oof, that's a tough one. I think I would say Zach Moss was my biggest surprise. I really like Zach Moss, honestly. I think he's neck and neck with Cam Akers as a prospect. I just like Akers' control of the backfield in LA and the potential of that offense a little better. And I thought we were going to start the run on receivers there, but I do like Moss. I think he's got a good role there.
Yeah, definite opportunity there for him. So we're back to me already to start off the second round. This is where I get a little bit confused as to what I want to do. I'm not sure about these wide receivers at this point, but I think I'm going to have to go with my Jet, Denzel Mims. I thought Denzel Mims was going to fall a lot further than he did, but the Jets picked him up. They seem to love him, and I think he can step right into that Robbie Anderson role. Whatever that means, I'm not sure, because generally it means no action for the first half of the year and then starts to look promising at the second half. But I'm going to go with Denzel Mims here.
They have the 2020 combined expert rookie rankings that they put together in post draft, and Mims had the 12th spot, so I feel like he got pretty good value there.
Oh, all right.
You're like, yes. I think I echo your sentiments here about what direction you want to go with your second round pick, right? If this is where you have to look at your team and decide what you're doing, even if you are, got a pretty solid squad, but you're missing on quarterback, you're going to go Burrow here, right? But I just don't think that the value is there for Burrow, so I'm going to take the risk with Keyshawn Vaughn. At this point, I think that he's the best player available and the best situation that it, to me, felt like Singletary last year, right? When not a lot of people were hot on Singletary coming out of, FAU, but there wasn't anybody ahead of him. Like it seemed like he had a clear shot into starting time almost right off the bat. And it turns out that's exactly what happened. So if he impresses in camp, he can pass Ronald Jones. I like Ronald Jones mostly because I own Ronald Jones in 2 leagues. But it is very possible that, Brady slaps Ronald Jones in the face and all of a sudden Keyshawn Vaughn is starting and never looks back. He's a good value right here.
Tom Brady might do that, and then everybody would talk about how great of a leader he is for hitting him. Eric, who do you have at 15?
At 15, I will take my boy, Brandon Ayuk. I really like Ayuk a lot. He was actually my wide receiver 5 pre-draft, and he's my wide receiver 5 post-draft. So I think the landing spot was really good. He went a little earlier than some people expected, snuck into the end of the first round, which is a good sign, and he landed in a potentially really good offense, or at least with a really good offensive coach. I love Kyle Shanahan. I have faith in him, even if I don't have faith in Jimmy Garoppolo.
Fair enough. Don, who do you have at 16?
So right now we're kind of at a spot where we're starting to roll the bones a little bit, where a lot of the obvious point production's off the board, and we start to get into positions where we're curious as to what's going to happen. I'm going Joe Burrow now. I think he takes over an offense that is going to have the possibility, with a few breaks here and some help from A.J. Green, to be able to at least score some points or at least get you value yards and score touchdowns. Tyler Boyd's another one that can really play. Joe Mixon can catch the ball out of the backfield. So the potential is here to make a valuable offensive set.
I can't argue with that. Joe Burrow is definitely the QB stepping into the best position to start off the year. Yeah, can't argue with that pick at all. From the looks of it, this early second round is such a crapshoot. You have all this talent that's kind of jumbled together at this point. And it's really depending upon what your risk tolerance is at this point. So I'm going to go with my boy, Laviska Shenault, highly athletic, going to Jacksonville. I mean, they only have Chark. Everything else over there is kind of up in the air. I don't know who's going to throw him the ball, but I love his athleticism, and I think he is one of this new age wide receiver who can do it all. So I'm going with Laviska Shenault at 17.
Does the injury history bother you?
No. As our boy Nick would say, there is no such thing as injury prone. As long as he's getting the proper training and proper medical advice, I'm not worried about him right now.
So my turn then, huh? Let's see. 18. So this is the This is the 2-6 pick.
Yep.
I think that you're getting. He was my number 3 rated wide receiver before the draft. I stuck with him. He goes a little bit, deeper into that pot, especially if you consider AJ Green, coming back and playing strong. But I'm still going to take T. Higgins here just because I understand opportunity. I like his talent. And if, I know you say no injury prone, but John Ross still can't stay on the field. And Tyler Boyd is going to have, I think, a pretty good year. But in a couple years, it's going to be a Burrow to Higgins connection. That's going to be a strong connection there.
He also picked number 85 for Cincy, which, I mean, that's just fantastic.
Ocho Cinco.
Yeah.
Just to go over the top half of the second round, we had Denzel Mims, followed by Keyshawn Vaughn, Brandon Ayuk, followed by Joe Burrow, Laviska Shenault, followed by T. Higgins. Now with pick 2-7, Eric.
Alrighty. At 2-7, I'm going to take Bryan Edwards.
Yes.
Go to the other side of the Raiders wide receiver depth chart here. If you're wondering why, just go back and listen to what I said about Henry Ruggs. All the same things apply to Bryan Edwards.
Just rewind it, please. We'll wait.
Yeah, just go back a couple minutes. All the same things apply. Seriously. The opportunity is there, but he just obviously doesn't have as much invested in him by the team, and he comes in with a little bit of an injury, so we'll see how long it takes him to adjust. But he is a really exciting prospect, and the opportunity is there.
All right, Don, number 20.
I'm going to take a shot here. I'm going KJ Hamler. I'm going on a big play waiting to happen here. Extreme speed, potential value here. This guy has the opportunity to start in the slot now that they've been able to restock that kind of wide receiver position out there in Denver. We're hoping here now this is kind of a team that wants to run the ball, but big play waiting to happen. The screen game is very possible and was very effective at Penn State. I feel like it's something that Denver's going to be able to really try to integrate here. And with a lot of the top options gone, I think now we're looking at what could be. And I think Hamler has the opportunity to be something special. He'll also contribute on special teams.
I love that. I'm biased, but I love that.
I'm in 100%. I'm with you. You sold me. With pick 21, I love this guy, and I know his opportunity isn't the best behind the freight train, Derrick Henry, but I'm going with Darrington Evans. I think he's going to fit where they wanted Dion Lewis to be, as sort of the lightning to the thunder of Henry. I really love this guy's talent, and I hope he gets an opportunity to be a complimentary back. And yeah, I'm taking him here only because, I draft guys who I love as well as for talent, and he has both.
Yeah. And Henry's he was franchise tagged this year, so who knows what that backfield even looks like next year.
Exactly. It's going to be a lot of Darrington Evans.
So I am thinking I can go one of two ways here, right? We can, I talked about the Green Bay play, and as many people dog on AJ Dillon, it's tough to say that he's not a talent. But you know what? I'm going to go a different route, and I think it's time. It's Tua time, right? You've got to be able to look at where you're picking. Obviously, your team needs, and I know that I say that ad nauseum here, but those second late round picks to put that kind of value on that somebody, even in a one quarterback, might need at some point, you can turn that around to more. So I think at this point, I am looking to take value, and I'm taking Tua, and then I'm looking to possibly, if I don't need him, turn him around and get something plus, because I think that I can do that, even if it's somebody in the second round that's a little bit higher. So Tua is the pick here, and then I like to start dealing.
So Tua Tagovailoa. Is that how you say it?
I'm calling it good.
All right, sweet. Eric, who do you have at 23?
All right, at 23, I'm going to go with Devin Duvernay. Just at this point, excited to get a piece of the Ravens offense. pair him up with the MVP. You got Hollywood Brown there. You got Mark Andrews. So there are some established pass catchers, but I think there's an opportunity to grow. Hollywood Brown has had an injury history, and I really like Duvernay overall as an offensive
That's a good
weapon in
pick.
the slot and outside.
Yeah, I can't disagree with you there. Solid pick. Don, why don't you finish us off?
Got to go A.J. Dillon at this point. Real potential to be a touchdown vulture right off the jump. Big back, runs hard, powerful guy, going to get the short yardage touches and probably the goal line touches there in Green Bay. That seems like, from every signal we've been given, that they want to run the ball effectively this year. So at this point in the draft, you're kind of maximizing points with whatever you can get, and this guy has real touchdown vulture potential.
All right, so we finished off the second round with Brian Edwards, followed by KJ Hamler, Darrington Evans, followed by Tua, Devin Duvernay, and A.J. Dillon. Don, what was the biggest surprise for you in round two?
I think if we were looking all around two here now, the biggest surprise, generally speaking, is that we've only got 2 quarterbacks off the jump. The value is all over the place here, and there's another quarterback here that could take over at any point because this quarterback position is so unstable in San Diego that I thought Herbert might get some love here at some point in the back part of round 2.
JJ, he just said that because he didn't want to say how bad your Darrington Evans pick was.
You know what? I'm not going to lie. That's exactly what I was thinking, Michael. But you know better than anybody. JJ Winter don't care. If I love a player, man, I'll love you to the end.
You're like the honey badger.
I mean, Sammy Watkins, brother.
Jeez.
Ride or die. You know, that's how I came up with the name for this podcast, baby. I'm ride or die. So, wow. Top of the third, and I'm looking at what's left. It's a veritable maybe in the NFL, but I'm going to go with the wide receiver turned running back. One of the wide receivers turned running back. Or actually, he would be a running back who turned into a wide receiver, then back into a running back. Antonio Gibson.
Well, don't ask the commissioner because he didn't know.
He does not know. For Eric's Washington Redskins. Antonio Gibson is super, super talented. And as much as we all love Darius Geis, the sickest, he's, I don't know. I don't know if he's ever going to play.
Trustworthy, yeah.
So
I'm not going to stand for any Darius.
No,
slander
listen.
here.
There is no slander. I'm just saying.
Oh, there's slander. There's definitely slander.
Yeah, there's slander happening. But I don't think that's a backfield that's settled. Darius Geis is a question mark. The child beater is still there, but he should retire soon. Bryce Love, maybe. So I look for
McKissick, Barber.
who?
J.D. McKissick, Peyton Barber.
Exactly. A veritable who's what? Who's that of the NFL?
In all seriousness, as our resident Redskins fan here, I do think Geis is going to get the early down work. I still really like Geis. I do think Antonio Gibson's going to steal some touches on third down, and he's going to be an overall offensive weapon. Very versatile, move around in the slot, all sorts of touches. And just saying, not to let the hype get out of control, but Ron Rivera was talking about him as their new CMC. So take that for what it's worth.
Well, I'm picking him, so obviously I like him. Michael, who do you have at 26?
Just to prove that we're doing this live and we didn't concoct this beforehand, I have no damn clue who I'm going to pick right now. So I had all that time while you were talking about Antonio Gibson, and I still can't come up with anybody. I guess at this point, I guess I have to go with Justin Herbert. You know, he's, as Don said, the surprise of not having another quarterback go in the second round. It makes sense that he's going to probably jump in there by game 2 or 3 when Tyrod Taylor ends up inevitably sucking like normal. And I only said that for you, JJ. Sorry.
Thanks, buddy.
And he's gonna have to jump back in there, you know. So as a third round pick, this seems right for Justin Herbert.
There's only really 3 quarterbacks that we expect under normal situation here to be able to reliably say they're going to get some kind of playing time, and Herbert's the last one of those, to my mind.
Yeah.
So it makes sense that he go here.
Eric, 27. What do you have?
Well, he stole my Antonio Gibson pick, but I appreciate the love for him. I'm going to take Chase Claypool, who's not a tight end. He went in the second round. Incredible
Don,
combine.
you found a friend.
Finally, kindred spirit.
Yes, there we go. Thank you. I mean, look, the combine was incredible. He's not that impressive on tape. He's a little stiff, but I think he can fill kind of that old Martavis Bryant role, fit in well with Big Ben. There's rumors about Juju Smith-Schuster leaving draft capitals. Not bad. Not really excited about this pick, but it's okay.
Wow. That mirrors exactly, even the Martavis Bryant portion, what Don and the other members of the advisory committee were discussing during our happy hour earlier.
Oh, there we go.
Well, I'll be honest. You snaked me here because he was going next to me if you hadn't.
Yeah, that's
Awesome.
I knew he was going at 28. I'm surprised here. So what the hell are you going to do, Don? Because I don't think you know any of these other players. That's a joke.
It's very much now the who's that portion of the draft where we're looking around. And generally speaking, when you don't know, you find yourself a tight end, particularly in a place like New England. So I'm going with Devin Asisai, or however you pronounce that, kid out of UCLA. And I'm hoping here that they try to rekindle some of the old magic there in tight end land that is New England, because there's really no starter there right now. So hopefully we'll take one of the athletic tight ends that they thought enough of to trade up to get.
Yeah, and hopefully he can throw himself the ball, because I don't know who else will. So Devin Asiasi.
In Hoodie we trust.
In Hoodie we trust. I'm not saying that.
If there's
don't get
no
me
one,
started on.
Sounded like you were saying that.
It did sound like I was saying that, but don't make me say that, Don. All right, 29.
If there's no one in the stadium, no one can see him cheat.
Ooh, yeah.
Wow, that's deep. Are you cheating if no one sees you? Yes, you are. At number 29, I am going to, after picking Antonio Gibson, I'm going to stay with the wide receiver to running back love, a guy who played both positions plus quarterback last year, with Lynn Bowden joining. I'm going to steal him because he went to the Raiders, and I didn't want Eric to pick Ruggs, Edwards, and Lynn Bowden, because that would be ridiculous.
I mean, hey, when you can get 3 Derek Carr weapons, why wouldn't you?
Exactly. That's a great take. So I'm going with Lynn Bowden here. I think he is explosive, and we didn't really get to see what he could do as a skill position player last year in college, because he had to go play quarterback, which isn't his real position. So I'm excited to see what he can do for the Raiders this year.
I look at the board, when we did our initial pre-draft, little mock draft here, I was high on one player from Jerry Falwell University, a guy that had 2 1,000-yard seasons. I am taking Antonio Gandy Golden here. I am a little bit higher than most. I still think that he is middle third-round talent, but I am excited to watch him play in the NFL. Plus, he's on the Redskins. Yes,
yeah.
I'm not messing that up. Okay, so I like the opportunity that he can be there. He's going to have to beat out Kelvin Harmon or Steven Sims Jr. Who knows if he can do that? But I'll take the risk in the third round.
There is no slander to Kelvin Harmon on this show, just to let you know. Wow. So back up.
First of all, I'm a proud taxi squad Kelvin Harmon owner right now. So
nice.
I'm not slandering, but
that Sims can go away.
I'm just
hey.
those big bodied wide receivers that you can get excited about. When they translate to NFL speed. It seems like they fall a little bit harder.
Yeah.
At least recently.
Absolutely. So Top of round 3, we have Antonio Gibson, followed by Justin Herbert, followed by Chase Claypool, Devin Asiasi, followed by Lynn Bowden, and Antonio Gandy Golden. Eric, 3-7. You're starting off the back half of the third round. Who are you going with?
Well, I'm going to take Van Jefferson, another guy who got decent draft capital and landed in the Rams offense. I'm still a Sean McVay believer, at least. I think
Genius.
he's going to turn things around again. Former Redskins offensive coordinator who taught him everything he knows. Us, personally. Me. Anyways, I think the offense has a lot of potential still. Cooper Kupp and Robert Woods have some contracts expiring in the next couple of years. He could slot in there. He's a little Cooper Kupp-esque. He's an older prospect, not super fast, really good route runner. So there's a decent fit there.
Any relation to Van Morrison?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't know that. That's awesome.
Don't quote me on that.
Emphatic, yes.
Don, 32. Who do you have?
32, I'm going with a wide receiver. I'm going with Tyler Johnson. Kid out of Minnesota. Good size, not great speed, but he's going to Bradyland. And
I
think
wish you would have said that. I was hoping to get him somewhere in the 4th.
Mm-hmm.
I love it.
Going to Bradyland, sure-handed, just screams third down kind of guy.
Yeah. All right. So keeping the theme of running back for me, it looks like I only picked 2 wide receivers. Everybody else I've picked so far has been a running back. So Josh Kelly going to the Chargers. I don't think they want to run Eckler as much as everybody thinks they do. Eckler can put up good receiving numbers. He's not great running the ball. And Josh Kelly is an all-around back who I think is going to slot in nicely there. Not to pat myself on the back too hard, but this is definitely the steal of the draft by getting Josh Kelly at the back end of the third round. So I clearly won the draft. We can stop here. Unless, Michael, you want to make another pick?
I mean, I guess I'm here, right? I might as well. I mean, it's my last pick of the draft right here. That we're only doing 3 rounds. In our Devy fantasy team, I drafted Eno Benjamin as a Devy pick, and I'm gonna kind of keep rolling with this. I think that he's a player that was a little under the radar this year after a really good what years are we in, right? A really good 2018. So I'm gonna stick with that pick. He's got small stature, but he can do a lot out of that backfield, and I'm just really more excited to see what he can do in the NFL. So I would say a late round 3rd flyer on Eno Benjamin is a pretty good pick there. If I don't say so myself.
Is there any fear? Didn't he go in the 7th round?
Man,
Yeah.
Yes. No, I'm not too worried. He's a possible 3 down back, and that might have gone right 7th round, but not every NFL evaluator is right. I think that you should look at that, but he's still more of a top or a better pick to me. As I was referencing the combined expert rookie rankings that I look at, he's in at 33, so still in your top 36 players.
Yeah, not bad at all. All right, Eric, 35, our penultimate draft pick.
All right, at 35, I am going to take Cole Kmet, the tight end from the Bears. Their 10th tight end. Not sure what's going on there. I don't really like this pick. Not really a huge Cole Kmet fan. He's okay. The situation's pretty terrible. Not a Mitchell Trubisky fan. So the moral of the story is trade your late 3rd round picks, because at some point
you're going to have to pick Cole Kmet.
Yeah, it just falls apart.
Don't
just
worry.
don't feel great about it.
Don't worry. By that time, large Wang Foles will be
Oh, there we go.
quarterbacking that. Will be quarterbacking that team.
That gives me a ton of confidence.
All right, Mr. Detweiler, to
So here we
finish
go.
up our 3-round mock.
So here we go, 36, right? The back end of this. Do we hope that Hunter Henry's leg falls off and Adam Troutman gets more than expected playing time as a second tight end at a relatively poor passing situation here in San Diego? I'm going DJ Dallas here and hoping that he can get himself some running back touches here in Seattle and give himself an opportunity to at least be a change of pace kind of player. He's definitely not Carson up there, and I think that will play in his favor. So he'll get some of that third down love and some change of pace, be the lightning to Carson's more thunder.
All right, so that was an interesting back half of the 3rd round. We had Van Jefferson, no relation to Van Morrison. We had Tyler Johnson, who seemed to have no relation to previous year Tyler Johnson when he was good. Joshua Kelly, from UCLA. Eno Benjamin, who disappeared in the draft. Cole Kmet, who Eric picked and then spent, I think, 90 seconds saying how much he hated picking him. Like, it sounds like my wife when she accepted my wedding proposal.
You too? All right.
Wait, you proposed to my wife as well?
Well, I mean, she said no.
Oh, well, thank God.
Already with you. God, duh.
And then finishing it off with DJ Dallas. I don't know, Michael, biggest surprise of the 3rd round.
I don't know that you can really look at surprises when you're at this point that kind of fit into the category of quote unquote dart throws, right? I mean, I was a little surprised at my own pick about Justin Herbert not going a little earlier, but I don't necessarily love him, so 3rd round feels fine. I need to definitely read up on my late round players here as you go through because I had not done my research on Joshua Kelly, so I'm excited to read up on him a little bit more, do my due diligence, and then possibly start adding him at the back end of my drafts here.
Yeah, looking at this whole thing, I get a little bit worried about the 4th and 5th round. It seems like we got into dart throws a little bit earlier. But looking at those first 2 rounds, those are solid players. Darrington Evans included in the first 2 rounds. So if you have a couple 3rd round picks, bundle them together, try to get into the back half of the 2nd round.
Definitely. I mean, there was a 2nd round in the NFL draft running back who went with the last pick of the 2nd round here. I mean, how often do you see that happen? That's awesome.
Yeah, that is awesome.
So I agree. Kind of try and get your way up out of the 3rd round and back into the 2nd.
This is what a lot of players were bracing for, honestly, a year and a half ago. This draft was tabbed as, pretty heavy. And even though you had like and I don't know how to pronounce his name. Is it Chuba Hubbard? Or
Chuba Hubbard.
Remind me now.
Travis Etienne.
Etienne, yeah. Even with them dropping out, like I said, this is still a deep draft. But it's always a good idea not to hoard picks, but pick them up where smart. When you're making trades, if you can really like sit there and be like, well, add a 2nd or a 3rd on top as your cherry. When you're talking about big trades that people think they'll throw in, this is how you accumulate value. And I'm always about that.
Yeah, absolutely. In one of my bigger leagues, I always ask for a 4th. We have a 7-round rookie draft. So I have tons of 4ths every year, which I like to bundle up and trade for future 3rds. And it really does pay off. You can incrementally grow your team year after year by asking for those picks. I know we talk about it in the Slack channel all the time. Ask for a pick. Mm-hmm. If you have a straight player for player, ask for a pick.
You have to be willing to put in the work, though. Everybody wants to sit there and be like, I'll take this and a 1st because they're lazy, right?
Right.
Really, like I said, if you're listening and you're thinking, wow, JJ, that's a really great idea, realize that it comes with a little bit of work. And if you're not afraid of that, you can really, build your team over time by doing things slowly, right?
Yeah, you can't always look for the big payoff, but the instant big payoff. I'm actually doing distance learning with my kids, and we were doing Aesop's fables this week. And the main fable was, don't be greedy. Take a little bit at a time. So I think that's a lesson that we can all learn from even today. So that was actually pretty fun. I think I definitely saw how this mock shifted from our previous one. And I'm excited. I have a couple drafts coming up. You guys are in a few of them with me. And I just feel like the NFL draft, along with the Jordan documentary, has breathed some life into, America right now.
Yeah.
At least the male population is sort of more engaged and excited than we have been. So I don't know. I'm feeling kind of good right now. What about you guys?
Yeah, I agree. I'm hoping these rookie drafts, quite a few over the next couple of weeks. Hoping they can tide me over. Maybe MLB will come roaring back. We'll get back in the full swing of things. Staying optimistic, trying to, will it into happening.
Absolutely. Maybe even the NBA coming back for, finishing up their season.
Man,
that'd be nice.
I'm a dynasty guy anyways, and it's really funny. Like when I do have free time, even if I'm not actually executing trades, looking at other people's teams and like really trying to put in effort of, man, do you think that this guy would accept that? And like a fourth of the time, I'll sit like for 20 minutes and try to make a trade, and it's like I just can't do it. But it's still fun. You're still engaged. That's the excitement of Dynasty to me. So I'm hurting with all the other sports, but this is definitely your happy place in times like these.
Yeah. And I mean, hey, a lot of people are sitting at home doing the same thing right now. It's probably a great time to get a trade done. So whoever's on the receiving end is probably staring at your roster too, tinkering with everything. Just bored out of their minds. Send some offers.
Absolutely. Take a look at some rosters and roster bait.
Absolutely.
Say.
Oh, I do frequently.
Oh, me too. Me too. So much my own roster is chafed. Well, Don, thank you for joining us.
My pleasure, guys. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Remember, give us a follow, subscribe to our pod, give us a like, follow us on Twitter at Rider Dynasty. You guys want to say goodnight, Don?
Hey, thanks for having me here. It was so good to have just a dose of normal that NFL draft provided. So stay well out there, everybody. Thanks for having me.
Eric?
Thanks for joining, Don. Thanks, everybody, for listening. Stay safe.
Michael?
Don, it was a pleasure. Thanks for coming on. Everyone, take care of yourselves, mentally and physically.
Absolutely. Boat drinks, my friends. Boat drinks.